It's always interesting to see if anybody's been whale watching themselves. It's kind of a question I ask all my passengers before we get on the boat, just to kind of see what their level of expectations are, and just to kind of share different experiences that people have experienced themselves. So has anybody here ever been whale watching? You've been whale watching? Here in Victoria?
Yeah.
Excellent. And yourself too, Rob? Here in Victoria as well? All right, cool. Anybody else?
Yeah, I went whale watching once. It was cool.
Good. And you saw whales, I hope, all three of you?
Yeah.
Good. All right, we're off to a good start then. What does greenwashing, how does it affect me? Well, it doesn't affect me directly, but it affects you guys more directly than it does me. Greenwashing is kind of a new marketing term for how companies try and paint themselves green. It takes from the term whitewash, which is what paint used to be called, whitewash. They paint picket fences, whitewash them. And basically, is companies are trying to make themselves appear more green when they actually haven't really done that much. An example of that would be a lot of hotels. They kind of talk about, well, don't just have our towels and linens just washed every day. We'll try and reuse the towels during your stay, which is in appearance a good way to reduce water and soap usage. But if that's all they do to be a green hotel, then maybe they're not following up on all the steps. Maybe they're not looking at the whole supply chain. Maybe they should be using more environmentally friendly products in the hotels, in their kitchens, and composting, and all these other things that could be more green. But if all they do is just that one thing and say they're an environmentally conscious hotel, then they're falling short of what they could be doing for the consumers and your environment.
Next question.
What 4 languages do you speak?
I speak French, Spanish, Swedish, and English.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky to have some amazing travel opportunities, participate in some exchange programs, which I strongly recommend. There's high school exchanges, there's university exchanges, there's just culture exchanges, and they're a good way to get out in the world and live in one spot and study and kind of immerse yourself in the culture, and then you'll learn a language much more easily when you're interacting with the locals. So it's kind of one step beyond just being a tourist and actually a traveler.
Where have you been where it's Spanish speaking?
I lived in Mexico for 5 years.
Oh.
I went down on a university exchange and studied at a university near Mexico City. And it wasn't the smartest spot to go in Mexico. It was actually one of the highest elevated places. So I show up in shorts and sandals, and I get off the plane and right away went and bought pants, jackets, sweaters. It was really cold.
Yeah.
But the benefit is not many people spoke English. There wasn't very much tourism there. So I really had to quickly learn Spanish. So they stopped ripping me off every time I took a taxi.
Yeah.
And I could ask for my food to be less spicy because those guys really like their habaneros. All places where you go traveling, you would be careful about where you put your money and knowing the fair market value of things that you're purchasing. I noticed a lot of my friends when they first arrived would rent cars and they go for a road trip and they stop at a gas station, pay for gas, and they wouldn't be paying attention to how much money they gave. So they'd say they bought $20 worth of gasoline, and they'll pull out like 2 $10 bills, and then the gasoline attendant would just grab one and then sit there and wait for the next one, and then kind of fold it behind each other, and you just show he's only been given paid once. So he'd make you feel like you had to pay another $10. Us Canadians, we're really lucky because we really have a really respectful, honest culture where people don't get ripped off very often. So it just needs like interactions. You have to be very careful like how you pay money and just make it very obvious. And
Are they like pretty rudimentary gas stations there? Like not really?
Gas station just like here, but they'll have a gas station attendant who maybe makes $10 a day, filling up everybody's gas tanks, and they really rely on tips. And they'll just sometimes if they see someone who's not paying attention, maybe they'll use a technique like that, or say, it's $25 worth of gas, but maybe they only put in $20, or to stop the pump.
Yeah.
So you just have to be really, really vigilant with your surroundings and just paying attention to the services you're purchasing. So you don't want to get ripped off. You don't want to lose your passport or get distracted.
No.
There's a lot of important things while you're traveling to make sure you keep your belongings with you and not part with more money than you intended.
Yeah.
What can you do specifically to keep customers happy and coming back?
I'm really lucky. The company I work with, we have the fastest whale watching boats in Victoria, and we have an extendable range. So I've worked for several different whale watching companies, and most companies just offer a 3-hour tour. But these whales, they're moving constantly. So in a 3-hour time period, they could be right in front of Victoria, but then 3 hours later, up closer to Vancouver. So we designed our tours to be able to extend that range so that when they move further than most companies can offer in a 3-hour tour, we can just tack on an extra half hour to guarantee that we see whales every day. So we hit a 98% chance of seeing whales on every trip, higher than the industry average of 90%. So it's really providing the product, the service that people are purchasing to be actually a whale watching company, because you think about 10% of your customers not seeing what you promised them. A lot of unhappy people. We really want to make sure that everybody gets to see what they paid for.
What do you guys do to save the whales?
Good question. These killer whales, can I use a little prop? Yeah. So what's really cool is that the local killer whales have been studied for almost 40 years. And what's really cool about these whales is that each one has some distinct characteristics that make them unique. So the dorsal fin for the male is going to be up to 6 feet tall, 2 meters.
It's huge.
Exactly, and sometimes they have nicks and scratches along the trailing edge.
Yeah.
It allows us to identify each and every single one. And there's a little white patch in behind called a saddle patch. So each of these killer whales has been given an alphanumeric scientific name, and then also a cute common name.
Oh, that's cool.
So one of my favorite families are the J22s, where the mom is named Oreo. She's about 70 years old.
It's cute.
The daughter's name is Cookie, and the son's name is Double Stuff.
Oh, there you go.
So we call them the Cookie Crew.
Cookie crew.
Exactly. So it's kind of fun. So we can
Yeah.
watch these whales and kind of watch as they grow and develop into
Yeah.
bigger whales, and they give birth. By age 11 to 15, they're already having babies. So we've got several generations of whales that have been viewing. Now we've counted only 86 killer whales remaining in the 3 families that visit these whales, the resident killer whales, J, K, and L pods. So for us, we've developed a really tight connection with these whales. So one of the things that we're doing as a company is we try and support researchers so that they can study the whales and help better protect them. And also when we're viewing the whales, we actually slow down and quite often just turn off our engines and float like logs and just let the whales pass by in their natural habitat. So we're not rushing in and stressing them
intruding
out.
and stuff, yeah.
Exactly. So we just want to be very low impact so that they're kind of like our family members. So we're respecting them like they were part of our family.
Yeah.
There's even one whale who we believe is 101 years old.
Wow.
We believe she was born in 1911. So we want to make sure that she stays around because she's now the oldest known killer whale in the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when they're like such long-living animals, we want to make sure that they keep on living.
Yeah.
So we've developed some programs that is kind of exciting, where we've joined an organization called 1% for the Planet. Has anybody ever seen any companies downtown Victoria that have the 1% for the Planet logo?
No.
You guys ever heard of the company called Patagonia that makes the fleece jackets and outdoor clothes? They started a movement where they're trying to encourage companies to donate 1% of their sales to environmental not-for-profits to help the environment. So it's what we've done is we designed that 1% to help save killer whales. And one of the things that we've recognized is these killer whales really rely on salmon as their food source, particularly the Chinook. So this year we're donating to the Gulfstream Salmon Hatchery to help increase the Chinook levels to ensure these killer whales come back every year so we can see them. We miss them when we don't get to see them.
One of the big things, big themes in any business is keeping it fresh, day after day. What's a question that you wonder about? Here's a person who's working with the public every day, for many hours a day, out there, right in front, has to be a star. So, and has to stay fresh. What's your question?
What kind of things do you do to keep it fresh?
What kind of things do I do to keep it fresh? I like that one. So actually, this is kind of my favorite prop that I like to use because every day we go to different spots on the map Sometimes right in front of Victoria by Race Rocks, looking at seals and sea lions and the whales will go by. Other times to drive all over to Vancouver. And by actually being able to identify every single whale, it's not the same ones every single day. Every day it's someone different. And I've got like whole binders of stories of what we've seen, what we've experienced over the years. And we can kind of get into detail about some of these whales and their lives and make it a little more interesting and maybe a little more connection. Because we also try and encourage our passengers to purchase adoption certificates to help fund the research that goes towards protecting these whales.
So why don't we just try, we got time for about 2 more questions. He said they try to encourage their customers to adopt a whale. So what's the question you have around that?
How do you adopt one? In
Another
your backyard.
So there's actually a whole program developed by
Guys, come over, I got
the
a whale.
Vancouver Aquarium.
Oh,
It's
sweet.
a wild whale adoption program. And we kind of got some exclusive rights to talk about the Cookie Crew on our tours and just offer their packages to allow people to buy a package that supports if they get a little t-shirt, a CD, a book bag, and they get monthly newsletters about the whale and how it's doing.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of a fun way. It's like, the adoption packages you
Yeah.
see on late night TV shows. You go to
Yeah.
1-800 number, you can adopt a child from a country.
Yeah.
Similar ideas, but, we
Child,
give
yeah.
each whale a name and
Oh,
make
yeah.
it part of people's families. Some people adopt them because of the cute name, other people adopt them because maybe their grandson was born on the same day as that whale. Yeah, it kind of makes it more of a personal relationship
Yeah.
because these whales, they live in family units just like we do.
What do you feed them? Like just veg or like?
Nothing. No, you don't actually adopt the whale. They're wild.
Yeah.
It's like an adoption in theory, like just like the 1-800 numbers where you
Yeah.
see you can help kids in Africa. You can adopt a child and they'll send you
Okay.
a letter a year with pictures and kind of shows their school and you support their education.
Yeah.
Similarly, you're supporting research and conservation efforts
That's cool.
to keep these whales wild.
Star, and you don't actually get the star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a little misleading because they come from the Vancouver Aquarium.
Yeah.
Who no longer has whales in captivity.
Yeah.
Except for a couple of blue guys, but the killer whales have all been passed on.
Any final questions for Mr. Mellet? There's one.
You said you supported like organization like the 1% thing.
Mhm.
Do you also support like the Sea Shepherds at all?
Some of our captains do, like on a personal level. When we joined 1% for the Planet, in order to prevent greenwashing on ourselves, we have a third party verify that we are doing what we say we're doing. So we have the Victoria Foundation, which is a pretty big organization here in Victoria that oversees about 500 charities and not-for-profits in Victoria. So one of their rules is to keep with Canadian charities and Canadian not-for-profits. So unfortunately, Sea Shepherd is kind of American,
It is, definitely.
so we don't donate to them. But some of our captains do on a personal level. Actually, one of our girls, she's a biologist, crew member, that she goes down and volunteers
Oh, that's cool.
down where there's an area where the U.S. government is removing sea lions from a river system where the sea lions have learned where to find free fish. So she goes down to help prevent these ones from being removed and culled, basically killed.